Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Chen Yida as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on YouTube. This is from an act named Zard, as I understand it, titled A Field of View, and we're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. I am familiar with this being Dragon Ball GT. I watched it when I was growing up. As a teenager, I think. I didn't hear this version of the intro because I live in New Zealand. I don't think we had the same intro for the English version, but the Japanese version would have had it, I think so. Or maybe it did. It's so satisfying how it resolves on that major there, and I really appreciate the charisma, the energy behind the guitar, bass, drums, and the vocals with the Dan with the catchy vocal melody as well. And there's that lift there, that major lift. We have that tension in our bridge there. You have these minor chords and things seem a little bit hopeless. Then we pop back up again, you know. It's a great sort of choice of songwriting there, those progressions there, segmenting different sections and making each one sort of, I suppose, distinct and unique. Is that it? That's an acoustic drum kit, isn't it? I'm just like following those. Those are some really sluggish kicks. They hit hard. And like we have this kind of bluesy kind of guitarist solo thing going on there with a bit of distortion and dustiness to it. But then even with that tension there, that sense of trepidation, we then resolve back to a more gentle majorish overtone there, going back into, I suppose, a bridge. We even got little shakers at the end there to kind of wriggle backwards and forwards. Okay. You know what? This does make me feel nostalgic, even though, again, I didn't grow up, I think, with the intro and the Dragon Ball GT anime when they screened in New Zealand. I still appreciate the work here. It reminds me of a lot of the music from Japan in like the 90s and 2000s, stuff like that, the kind of rockish stuff there, with the mixture of the different instruments we had as well as the vocal style. So we're going to talk about that more in the conclusion. But before that, we've got lyrics, kindly provided by Yida. Thank you very much. We've got gradually my heart is attracted to you. I like this opening line. Gradually my heart is attracted to you. I'm attracted to your dazzling smile. Let's jump out from the endless darkness. Hold my hand. I adore that. In the winding road between light and shadow, I wonder if you're still into him. So we're suggesting that we're trying to figure out if the person's over who they used to be with, and we're finding a brighter place with the new relationship, potentially. I like your angry face and your tired face, but sometimes I wonder if you can live life at full throttle like that. Yeah, you're still into him. I had so many things to ask you about, but our conversation will be obstructed by car noises and sword on the street. Time to jump out beyond the sea, hold my hand. All right, I get the lyrics. We're going to talk about this. Yeah, let's go. And welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an ex named Zard. It's titled Dan. Now, what do I think this track is about? Well, according to the lyrics, I think it's about someone looking at another they have an attraction to that's been growing slowly, and they see them with someone else, and they're trying to sort of entice them to get away from the stress and the agony that they might be in with that other person or in that other situation, and to go on an adventure with them. And to be honest, when I think about Dragon Ball and the suffering and the drama, and I know I can't sort of like relate it to Goku as a protagonist necessarily, but I see Dragon Ball GT as kind of taking a leap and going on an adventure. So that, like a new adventure after Dragon Ball Z. So I can understand why we might have used this theme for the anime a little bit. I think that the story is compelling. It's easy to understand once you have the translations. I mean, not that I could understand parts of what was being shown on screen, like the symbols. I've been studying a bit of Japanese and stuff like that, but I can't speak much Japanese, to be fair. I'm very, very new to it, and it's a very tricky language. But either way, I think the story was compelling. It's something that I think a lot of people will find accessible. The vocals were sensational, lovely and charismatic. A great sense of variation between the different verse, bridge, and chorus parts, nice and fragrant, harmonized well with the backing. The vocals were more sort of upbeat, energetic, and such in the chorus when we were doing that dun dun da 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 dun, and then we came down a little bit at moments of uncertainty in the verse and bridge sections. We showed that sense of understanding how to perform in a way that made sense with the lyrics. So I think there was a nice connection from the singer to the lyrics, and it made sense. And I think that we managed to communicate well. But it's also just the track at like 3.5 minutes is very, very short, and I wasn't expecting this song to be this short. A lot of the time people with these intros, they need more space to really sort of flesh out a piece of music, but this just works as a really eloquent, succinct single. I struggle with single for some reason. But I appreciate the combination of the different guitar, bass, drum, and piano and synth parts we had very occasionally as sort of decorative layers. A track where we came in very early on with the kind of fuzzy guitars, the bass and the drums kind of pounding away, and then we had the keys come in after some fill bits there, and the chorus came in very early with the vocals as well. The structuring was kind of meant to sort of introduce you to part of the motif, or at least the tone of the instruments, and then get you hooked on that hook line, and then boom, you're going on from there. So I appreciate the effort put in there from everyone involved in writing and performing the song to keep it compelling and interesting throughout. We didn't really have that many sort of main lead sections. Like the piano provided an interesting sense for competent fleshing out the mid-range there later on after like the first verse or something like that, or in the verse. It was a nice sort of soothing element then amongst the kind of distorted kind of parts of the guitar. But I think that with the vocals being the main focal layer, you could focus on the story there if you could understand it. And the melodies, even if you couldn't, were catchy enough and like they were... there was a sense of groove to the different guitarists. I'm trying to avoid talking about the instruments too much at this point. Just the transitions were really smooth. I appreciated the pseudo kind of leady thing coming in from the guitars later on, and little bits of sort of ornamentation or decoration from the synths highlighting certain notes, and the triads or extensions were also really gorgeous in the high end there. We stacked the frequency spectrum well, and it was a tight performance from start to finish with very little filler. The guitar riffs that we had typically worked around power chords or sort of bluesy scale parts. We had some sort of bendy kind of slidey bits, a little bit of phrasing with some unison bends there in the lead section there. But we sort of tried to get it to sync or niche, really neatly with the bass and drums. You had a great sense of unison rhythmically with the drum patterns there, with their various different quarter, eighth, and 16th note grooves across the hi-hats, kicks, and snares, but also the crash cymbals and such with the tom fills. But we also it was never overpowering. We went between like double time and normal time and such, with the bass down in that lower end, highlighting the root notes of the chord triads and stuff like that, keeping it nice and thick and full. The guitar riffs on top, the leads, and in the rhythms in the center, like on the sides, double tracked. They were nice and fragrant with a warmth to the tone of those guitars. They're accenting a period of hope. And then the piano, when they came in, the piano was nice. It was reasonably clean sounding, like it wasn't soaked in reverb or anything like that. You could hear the notes succinctly, and they had great presence in the mix and niched nicely with what was going on with the guitar arpeggios or any chord parts there. They added an extra bit of upper sort of spice to it. But the piano wasn't all the time. We changed the instrumental layers throughout the track and didn't allow anything to become stale. And I think the real star of the show for me, aside from the vocal performance and some of it's the way that the chord progressions were done, in part. I liked the fact that we didn't just stay with our sort of traditional major and minors, but we'd play around with the expectations of the listener and start with like a minor section and eventually get it to go into a majorish kind of tone. I think it's so clever because what it's trying to communicate is that even if we're talking about something sad, or even if the music sounds sad, we get the impression that even if things aren't okay at this point, they will improve. And that's something that I think the lyrics are trying to talk about there. So I think that that's really smart in regards to how the chord progressions were handled throughout the vast majority of the song. The intro part was there for energy and the pace and kind of sort of pick you up and get you ready for that chorus. But beyond that was a great sense of maturity with how things were handled from the people who wrote those chord progressions for the guitars, the keys, and stuff. And I just think it was really well handled, especially with that lead section as well. It wasn't too dominant with the edginess of it. We smoothed out, entered, kind of went a bit happy-ish, and then we went back down for the bridge. There was a bit of uncertainty about whether that person was going to take the jump across the ocean with us, but eventually in the chorus we hope they do. And that's how the song ends. It kind of keeps building and building and building until it's just very glorious, and you're almost kind of hypnotized and you want to take the leap with them, the leap of faith. So I think that the way the song was written matches well with the lyrics, and I can clearly hear and understand the connection between the different ingredients. I'm very thankful for that. It's a very well written song, and I don't think there was a note out of place. The performance was spotless as well. But it's just the studio recording, mixing, and mastering. I mean, like, it sounds commercial grade. There's an interesting reverb on the vocals as such, which kind of reminds me a lot of music from the 80s and 90s. A lot of rock music from like Japan and stuff was like that at that point in time. It became a bit drier with a lot of the Western producing and stuff. But like in certain genres, but this, like, they had a kind of airiness and kind of magic to it that I love to pieces. And the guitars, bass, and drums, even the lead guitar tone had a bit of fluffiness. There was still a heaviness to it, like there was still presence and bulk to it. But it was also, things were like flying through the air, and the keys and then the synth parts on top helped to further that. There were no resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field. There was dynamic range to this. Things were not the same last the entire time, but it was also nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. Effectively, this makes me want to watch Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT again. And when I think about that, I feel weird talking about it because it's quite a wee bit after, but, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, responsible for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, as well as a lot of others. I have watched all of it. I watched a lot of it when I was a kid and a teenager, and as an adult, when I was going through some hard times, I'd watch Dragon Ball Super, It's a wonderful legacy. Incredible anime and manga. And I'm really thankful that we had Akira Toriyama to make this these wonderful worlds for us to enjoy and appreciate. I'm aware that he did other stuff as well, but this is what I'm most familiar with, and I just want to acknowledge that. It's a shame we lost a truly great person, but I'm thankful for what they left behind. But, effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named Dan titled, is it Zard? It's from Zard. It's titled Dan, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.